Good evening to all the viewers of the Eternal Quest. This is Aditi Singh, and I welcome you all on the every page of the Eternal Quest in association with Ahmedabad Book Club, American Corner, Ahmedabad, and Hubhawks, and Gujarat, Hello Gujarat TV. And today we are here at a weekend conversation with the author Shankar Anand. He's been brought up in Chandigarh and he's a management professional for the world, but he's a writer, listener, and he loves to watch stories, science fiction stories mainly, and he's been writing from the age of 10 and working deliberately on an idea of something for so many years close to his heart. He has come up with first novel, that's Utopia. We welcome you, sir, on behalf of Eternal Quest. And like I have said much about you, so we all viewers would love to know something from your side. So kindly tell us about yourself more.
Yeah, thanks, Aditi. Thanks, Eternal Quest, for having me. I think you gave the briefs, you told everyone who I was, but yeah, I think just to add some more to that is basically, yeah, I am a management consulting professional, but yeah, writing has been one of my passions, writing and reading. I love a good story, like most people on earth. And I think it's always been a pleasure to get to know new stories, and I especially like the genre science fiction because it always gives you something new to ponder on. I mean, we all love a good human relationship story, but if there's some other that's playing into it, so it's uh, something that does that. Yeah, apart from that, I mean, there are a few other things that interest me a lot. I love running. I love distance running, so I usually try to do a half marathon at least once a month, wherever I can, whichever road I can. Yeah, I think yeah, apart from that, yeah, big time foodie. Yeah, I think that's about it.
Okay. So your book Utopia, which really means that a place which is very realistic, a place where everything is so perfect, unlike the world that we are living in. So, sir, tell us that who and what inspired you to write such a book, science fiction book called Utopia?
Yeah, good question. So utopia, like you put very rightly, is something that where everything is perfect. I think yeah, this idea kind of sprang into my head when I was almost jobless in 2014, I think. I was at a friend's place in Delhi, in Gurgaon, and was thinking, why we need to do everything that we do. What's the point? I mean, we're trying to basically make everything perfect. We're trying to get food into our bellies. We're trying to live in a home which is, which has decent conditions to live in. We're trying to get water. I mean, it's just basic necessities of life. So I was in parallel. I was kind of getting interested in an idea called lucid dreaming, where you are essentially in control of your dreams. So I was trying to put together a thought, and it wasn't a very great place in my life at that point. So writing was one of the outlets. So I started putting together a story of taking these two concepts and seeing how because I always wanted to write a novel, and this was, like I said, was one of my outlets. So I always wanted to see what I can come up with. So I think that was the genesis of the book.
And so, like, how did you come up with the name like Utopia? Like, you can come up with any other name also. So, why that
Hmm.
specifically? Like, what was the idea behind that?
Okay, so I think utopia, like I think you mentioned, is a place where everything's perfect, right? Uh, Most of us try to find utopia somewhere. So if you are like running a company or trying to make enough money to put together your own particular utopia. So we were just trying to think, we were just brainstorming, and I think 12 in the night to see what utopia would be for anyone. So does it simply mean that we get food to eat, etc.? So every effort that we do, every effort that we make, everything, even this podcast, right? Someone's working, someone's holding the camera, someone is editing. They're trying to basically do some work, engage their passions, and trying to create their own little perfect world where everything that they want is there. So that's how I kind of came up with this thought that, what would be utopia for anyone? And that's kind of where I went to.
Like, so we already have like so many science fiction author like Ray Bradbury and Isaac Asimov, H.G. Wells, right? And so how do your book is different from their writing? I mean, we have also grown up reading science fiction books. So how Utopia is different from those books?
Okay. So you mentioned a couple of very, very high-ranking names right now, H.G. Wells and Ray
Yeah, yeah,
Bradbury. I actually have both of my books on my bookshelf, both Ray Bradbury, Fahrenheit, and H.G. Wells. But I think where my book differs is you don't have a lot of science fiction authors in India. I mean, you won't find. So we usually have a lot of authors who are interested in literary fiction, right? So your usual stories about human relationships, but science fiction is kind of far and few in between, and which means that a lot of the science fiction stories, and I love dystopian stories. I love both stories which are thrown into different parts, and not only like H.G. Wells and Ray Bradbury. So George Orwell is one of my favorites. Um, so what generally happens is there's a lot of stories that are uh, taken in context of different countries. So I always wanted to write science fiction, uh, and this book has a very Indian context to it, a very Indian subtext to it. So because this book is largely based out of India, I think that's what makes it unique. And I think the two names that you mentioned, H.G. Wells, I think Time Machine is one of them. That's slightly different. Ray Bradbury's Fahrenheit, I think that's also dystopian. So it's very different from the subject that I've chosen to write about.
So I guess so we're lost you. Yeah,
Okay,
so
am
are
I
you there?
audible now?
Am I audible to you, sir?
Yeah, I can hear you perfectly.
Yeah, you're audible now. Yes.
Hmm.
Okay. So I just said that your book is in very Indian context, very different from all those writers that I mentioned. So as you've given us some views about the book, so can you tell us the gist of the book? I mean, for the readers who have not already read the book. So can you just tell us that what the story revolves around? I mean, who are the protagonists and what is the storyline? A little bit about that.
Okay. So this is
Yes, Aditi.
a timeless based story. There are four parallel stories going on, and they're connected to each other in some form or the other. So leave that to the reader to find out. But there are four different stories, four different sets of people, all from different walks of life with different backgrounds, um, trying to find meaning in their lives. And there's one concept called lucid dreaming, which is being employed by a particular group, which thinks that this particular tool has the power to alter human evolution some way. So when this tool is being employed, when this tool is eventually employed, all these four stories, these four people cross paths in different manner, different ways. So I think that's how it goes. But generally, it's about one larger theory of lucid dreaming. Like I mentioned earlier, it's basically um, your ability to actually know what you're dreaming about. And this particular group has found a way to increase human intelligence using that. So there are four different parallel stories going on, and they eventually get caught up in this particular tool's actions. Yeah.
So, like as you gave us some sort of hint towards the storyline of the book, so I have another question followed by the same. So, like this book really gives us an insight about the biggest question that we all have in our heads: that what if the life that we are living, what if the world we are exiting in has been designed by someone else's thought? So, like you must have gone through that thought process, right? So what was your experience when you put up with such ideas, when you come up with such ideas for your book? I mean, what if the world we are existing in has been really designed by like some other people's thought process? So, what was your experience while using that for your book?
Hmm. Yeah, I think that's a very interesting concept. I think that's also, I think one movie that comes to my mind that uses that particular concept is called Prometheus. So there also you have someone called engineers who basically create uh, human beings, right? And I think this is essentially a very interesting idea, and this is something that is possibly true. We all come from somewhere else. So I think while writing this book, this was one of the fundamental changes because we all come from different places. Evolution right now is mostly natural, right? Is this survival of the fittest? But I think at a certain point, humans knowingly or unknowingly start affecting evolution. So right now we have technology at our hands, which let's say a million years from now we might turn out different if we didn't have that technology. So I think that plays a very important role. I'm not sure if that answers your question though.
So, like, you are very much into science fiction and you started writing from the age of 10. So, like, how did that happen? Like, 10 years old is like very, very tender age to start writing. So, like, how did you got into science fiction? I mean, other genres that you explore or only science fiction is the one that you're interested into?
Hmm. No, no. So actually, so I didn't start writing science fiction when I was 10. I started like writing, and when I say writing, it can be anything from your, school contest to, I used to write for fun. Uh, I mean, I used to. So usually, when you're in school, you write when there's a competition, right? When there's either an essay contest, etc. So I used to write and then keep essays ready in case there's a contest. So that's how I used to start writing. Um, but yeah, I think science fiction over a period of time, as I kind of grew up, uh, my interest started going more towards science. And I remember when I was 13 or 14, I got a book from my uncle called the Earth Dictionary, the Space Dictionary. So it had everything about supernovas, black holes. So as a 13-year-old, 14-year-old, I mean, your imagination tends to wander a lot. So that kind of gave me an idea, and I started reading a lot of science fiction then. I think um, not science fiction per se, but I don't remember if there's a book called Animorphs, if you remember. So there
Yes,
was,
yes.
different, yeah, so different human beings trying to, they have different forms as animals, etc. So I think that's one of the first books that I read when I was, I think, 12 or something. So, started from there, and then move all the names that you mentioned, H.G. Wells, all the classics, and Orwell, and Charles Dickens and Liu, Dan Brown, everything.
Yes,
Yeah.
sir. So like you from your words, I can figure out that you were since childhood very much into fiction, right? So, what is your take on the virtual world? Like, do you prefer virtual over reality? I mean, do you believe in parallel worlds like our parallel worlds exist? So, do you believe in that virtuality or reality? What is your
Um,
take?
I think, yeah, it is. I mean, when you say virtuality, do you mean like digital versus real, or do you mean
No,
multi-universe or
my I
something?
mean, so, yeah, multi-universe. I mean that. Yeah,
I think that is
parallel
true. I
worlds.
mean,
Yeah.
yeah, I think that's true. That's a very interesting concept. Again, I think that that's been explored a lot. So there was a series called Fringe that I think came up on AXN or something. That was exactly on this. So it was two different worlds where, let's say, you perform one action here, and this a very different action there. So I think if mathematics is to be believed, and if Elon Musk is to be believed, I think it's a definite possibility. I think we have different permutations across different universes, and if we have infinite universes which we can never know about, um, it's a very different, it's a very interesting possibility to explore. I think multi-universes, and if somehow we're able to find out how they exist in parallel, it will be great. But yes, I would say it's a very intriguing thought to say the least.
Okay. So, are you like even planning to come up with some other books also apart from Utopia that is related to science fiction and cosmology?
Actually, yes. So if you read Utopia, Utopia is, I mean, it's not an end. So it's kind of like Marvel movies, right? When you think a
Yeah.
movie's ending and you have something that comes up. So Utopia, there's definitely another book coming. In fact, I've started working on it. Um, so it's planned as a trilogy or a quadrology. So there's definitely going to be more books. unless someone ties my hands, I'm not going to stop writing. So there's definitely
Okay.
going to be another couple of books at least on the Utopia series itself.
So we can expect a franchisee after Utopia, right? Series of book
Uh,
related to science fiction. We
yeah,
can
yeah,
expect.
yeah. I hope so. I hope so. Yeah.
Okay. And sir, like apart from being a science fiction that you are in science fiction stories, also you're an author. So like let me ask you that for you, what is important for an author, from an author's point of view? When you write a book, what plays the most important role? Apart from the story, what is more important?
Hmm. So as an author, so just to understand, you're asking me as an author, what is most important to me in apart from the
Yes.
story, right?
Yes,
Uh,
apart from the story.
I think my answer, I think, yeah, this is going to be common across all authors. I think it's going to be the kind of narrative. So you can have a brilliant story, but it's as easy to make it a boring read as it is to making it an interesting read, right? So, for example, *Sapiens*, right? So the book. So *Sapiens* is nothing but a history book. Uh, but I mean, the way it's written is so good and so intriguing, so interesting that it can make anyone read. So I think my number two priority after coming up with a good concept or a good story would be how to frame the narrative. So like I said, it's very easy to kill a book. So you can come up with a very um, very dull, very latent kind of a storyline, narrative where uh, either no one understands anything or people are able to not really buy into your story. So I think it really makes a huge difference on how you're planning to tell a story. So for example, if I come up with XYZ concept, how are the chapters being planned? Do they give away all secrets on in chapter two, or are you able to continuously create hooks for the user and the reader to end up wanting to read more? So if let's say again coming back to Marvel, if you knew that Thor would die, spoilers, sorry for someone who's not seen Avengers, but let's say if you knew at the end of the first movie that Thor would die and Iron Man would die, you wouldn't probably watch all the movies, right? So it's very similar. It's very important how you tell the narrative. So I think
So
that's what I
narrative.
would rate as. Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. So for you, like narrative is important apart from the storyline. So the idea of Utopia, when did that came to your mind? I mean, how many years back you started working onto that idea of this your novel?
Hmm. So like I said, I think the idea kind of came to me at in 2014. Um, and I think, yeah, I started writing it then, in 2015. I started writing it then, I mean, and because I'd never written a novel, I had written short stories, etc., and published a few magazine articles. But writing a novel is an entirely different ballgame, especially when it is heavy on the plot or, research based. And because it's a challenging topic, I'm not a psychology major, so I only knew the one-line definition. So for me to write something like this, it involved me reading a couple of small books on Dr. Freud and what brain psychology is, what dream psychology is. And I also joined a Facebook group on lucid dreaming, trying to interview a couple of people to understand what it is. And obviously, I mean, like I said, I had already planned it as a trilogy, right? So that involved a lot. Before I could write a single word, it took me, I think, 2 to 3 months just to frame an overall storyline. Plus, I was working then with a startup, so I mean, it wasn't that I had a lot of time. So I used to write either like towards the night, 10:30 to 11:30, or on the weekends. So I did start writing in 2015, but then I think I started my MBA as well in 2015, and MBA is not very time friendly. So I took a 2 year break, then I started working again. So I think it was bits and pieces. So I think by the time I completed, it was I think 2018. So overall, it took me 4 years, but yeah, lots of pauses in between to complete the book.
like it took you 4 years to complete the book. So, sir, in while the process, do you ever experience writer's block? I mean, from the last 2 years, we have COVID pandemic, right? And we youngsters have become quite lazy, and because everything we are doing is online, so it has made us quite
Uh-huh.
easy and lazy, and we are not. You become a potato couch in one way or the other. So, how were you active, and like you ever felt writer's block in your case that I should stop writing or I should delay it? Was there any instance about this?
Oh yeah, plenty of times. I mean that I think because see, it's a so if I show you the book, it's not a very thin book, right? It's slightly it's a roughly 350-page
Thanks.
book, so it's very common. And the thing is, you don't want the quality of the book to suffer. So if I didn't get an idea, I didn't get an idea. I stopped writing. It's that simple. So only used to write when I had good, solid substance. Um, I mean, I couldn't go on with writing if I didn't have a good idea. Uh, so I used to stop writing when I had this block. So I mean, even when like I had time, if I didn't have an idea, I used to stop writing and maybe like do something else, watch a sitcom or read some other book. So yeah, it's very common.
Okay, so like this were your ideas to get over the writer's block. Okay, so it's nice,
Yeah.
sir. Will viewers will get an idea from this. And so, like you said that apart from the storyline, you really give importance to narrative. So, when we talk about a book, we talk about the plot and the characterization. So, what is your like in your point of view? What is more important, a characterization or the plot for?
So when you say characterization, do you mean a particular character? Like,
Yeah, and how does the story revolve around the characters? That's
ah, so I think honestly both are very important because you take any
you'll
story you
have to say
like.
one. You cannot say both.
Yeah,
You'll
I
have
mean,
to
yeah.
name one.
Uh, so I think yeah, like yeah. So I think both are important, but I think if I have to pick one, I would say the plot, but not to push down the other, right? So it's very easy to kill. It both have to be right for a story to click. It's like a positive negative charge, right? If one of them is negative, the output is going to be negative. So the both of them have to be great. But I think the way it starts is first you come up with a great plot, uh, and then you try to see what characters are there. At least the way I write. I know there are people who write other way around. So the people who think of a great character and then think of a great story for them. But for me, the plot takes a precedence. Yeah.
And so, like when we talk about books, you have also written like this is the first book, right? And you'll come up with some other books also. So I have like another question for you. So when people write books, their characters are also inspired by some real life incidents or some characters from their life. So the characters in your novel, is it inspired by real life people or they are just sheer result of imagination? So tell us about that.
Okay. Yeah, so I think one fact is that there's nothing called pure imagination because I think every thought that you have is consciously or subconsciously a result of some other thing that you've experienced. So keeping that in mind, I mean, that's what I believe. And so, yeah, I think to answer your question, uh, a lot of them have inspirations from people in my real life. Uh, most of them, I can't think of a single character that I've come up with from scratch without having any frame of reference in mind, be it the protagonist, the antagonist, or even the names, right? So there are inspirations for all of them. Yeah.
Okay, it's like all your characters are inspired by people around you or incidents around you, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, not to say that the events that we associate with them are inspired, but let's say you're thinking about a supervillain, for example. Then when you start thinking of that as a story, you kind of form a mental image of what that villain will look like based on the actions that they do. Will it be like a thin, frail guy, or will it be like a fat person with no hair, or will it be like, uh, you know, a very quiet guy with horn-rimmed glasses? It can be anything, but you generally have a mental image, and then you think of what that image is. So you might know if you decide that that's going to be a thin guy, a very quiet guy with glasses on, you might think of either the characters that you've read or people that you know who look like that. So that's how the inspiration comes, at least to my knowledge.
Okay, sir. It was nice to know about that. And sir, also from apart from science fiction, any other genres that you're interested in? Matlab, you refer reading them any other genres apart from science fiction?
So yeah. I mean, I am not exclusively devoted to science fiction. It's just that I like science fiction a lot. But I think, in fact, the last two books that I've read were not science fiction. So I think the last two books that I read were, in fact, Shoe Dog by Phil Knight, which is the founder of Nike, and the one before that was 0 to 1 by Peter Thiel. So both are biographies and investment related books. In fact, the last science fiction book that I read was Cixin Liu's Three Body Problem. So I think genres, especially the ones that even the real life autobiographies and uh, like that inspire me a lot. So if I take the last book that I read, right, I think I finished it about a few weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, which is Shoe Dog by Phil Knight. I think it was one of the best books that I've read. Very inspirational, and teaches us a lot about life and how to go about things. So yeah, I think that is very, very interesting to me. Basically, understanding how humans struggle and successful people what they do. So I think that's something that I really enjoy knowing about. Yeah.
And sir, apart from that, you have Utopia with you, right? We have seen that you have a novel in your hand. So, sir, can
Yeah,
you
yeah.
read your favorite lines from the book for all the viewers? Yeah. Just few
Okay.
lines.
Let's see.
And you'll have to
I
show the
think,
book also to all of us. Yeah. The cover
yeah,
page.
here you go.
Okay. Yes, that looks good.
Yeah, let me pick. I think there's, uh, I don't have anything right now. Let me pull up
Okay,
the,
that's fine.
yeah,
It's a sort of
so in
spoilers
fact,
for all the readers who have not read it
yeah,
before.
yeah. So I think the first, even in the first chapter that I love uh, is basically towards the end of the first chapter.
Yeah.
And I think, yeah, this is kind of special because this was the first chapter that I'd written. I hadn't decided that if I want to continue writing or not. I wanted to write this chapter and share it across with a couple of people, some of my closest friends, to see if they enjoy this kind of reading. If they had said no at that point, I may not have written this book at all. So, so just a few lines. Uh, yeah. So it's a character called Satan. So people who read the book will ultimately find out who that is. So Satan could not move, but the man was right. Or was he? Did he have a choice? He could kill at least two people now, but he will die. He could turn around and leave, but he would be giving up the cause he believed in. And of course, she will die. The only alternative he had was clear. He turned to look at the woman. He loved her. How could he do this? He loved her more than life itself. Of course, he could not do this. Her once beautiful face was now reduced to a scared, bony structure. He pulled the trigger and peppered her with all 6 bullets in the chest. A teardrop fell from Satan's eye. He did not let another drop fall down. So this is the I mean towards the end of the first chapter basically. It's kind of a epilogue to the a prologue to the book. Yeah.
That was very, very deep. I mean, all the emotions and even the
Yeah.
character is not that emotional, but the lines were very emotional. Like it was quite deep, sir.
Thank you.
And so, like having said that, we have a like rapid fire round. We have few questions for
Hmm.
you. You have to answer it quite quickly. So we have 5 questions. So are you ready, sir, for the rapid fire round? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
My first question is: Like, what would you prefer, writing on a paper or typing on a laptop? What is your
Typing on a
favorite?
laptop.
Typing on a laptop. Okay. And the other question is the book and the author that you like the most. One book and the author.
Book and
You
the
must
author,
have a
George
list, I
Orwell.
know, but only one. Yeah.
Yeah, George Orwell, 1984.
Okay. The third question is your favorite cuisine, Punjabi or South Indian? Because you are from Chandigarh, so yeah, what's your favorite cuisine?
Uh, I know
Now, don't be
fusion. Can you say?
biased. Yeah, no, you have to name one. You cannot say it's a rapid fire round. Yeah,
Okay, South Indian.
South Indian. Like, why didn't you go for Punjabi? Because you are from Punjab. You could have easily gone for that.
Yeah, I love both, but the thing is, Punjabi food you cannot eat a lot. South Indian you can eat a lot
Okay.
compared to. So yeah, I mean, so the volume kind of plays into it.
Okay. Next question is your favorite place of travel.
My favorite place of travel, in any mountains, anywhere in the mountains.
So you're a mountain person, not a beach
Yeah,
person. Okay.
I am a beach person, but I
Answer.
prefer mountains. Yeah.
If you would like to write a book on your autobiography, what would be the title of your book? Do think about it and tell us. We'll get it recorded, that's why.
Uh, Still trying to figure out life. That's what I would say.
Okay. And if you write your autobiography, then who will be the characters that would love to include in the book? All your characters from your family or some dystopian characters also.
I mean, my characters from my family will definitely be there because they kind of shape the way I live. Uh, but I think, yeah, I like to think that there's some mysterious character out there, who's shaping
Okay.
it. So, yeah.
So like since you are into science fiction, have you watched Harry Potter series? Or some series like that? The Lord of the Rings. Are you a fan of that?
Oh, yeah, I'm big. I'm not a big fan of Lord of the Rings. I'm a big Harry Potter fan. In fact, I haven't watched all the books, watched all the movies, but I have read all the books like multiple times. So
Okay.
I kind of grew up with Harry Potter. So like we are kind of the same age, right? So in fact, the last book when Harry Potter was 17, I was 17. So
Oh,
it's kind of in parallel. Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Okay, sir.
Mhm.
So it was really nice, and you gave all the five questions and proper answers. I wish I had a hamper so I could have given you virtually, but since it's virtual, we don't have a hamper. Okay.
Yeah.
So, sir, like towards the end, we have done with all the questions, and time really flied, and it is more than half an hour, and the interview really went well. So, I have like one last question for you. Can you share some of your experience and ideas for the budding authors that are really into writing? So, what will your take on them? That you can tell us that how to focus on writing in this testing times that we are in. So, do tell us about that, sir.
Uh, yeah. So I think if you okay. So the question is for like people who are aspiring to write their first novel, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Um, okay, I think the first thing is pick your favorite industry, right? Pick your favorite genre that you want to write. Because I think from my struggle, India is not a place to like that's very receptive to science fiction, for example. People really love books which are, let's say, on mythology or historical fiction or autobiographies. But science fiction is not really an area. But having said, I was very adamant because that's something that I love to do. So what I would first before even putting pen to paper is don't think about all those things. Just see what makes you happy writing. So it can be science fiction, it can be children's stories, it can be motivational speeches. It can be anything. So I think that's the first thing that I would say, and then I think the second major thing that I would say is perseverance, right? Um, I mean, writing a novel is not a small thing. It's not a small feat of imagination. It's kind of underappreciated, and the struggle only becomes harder the longer you write because you need to first come up with a great idea. You need to put pen to paper. You need to get people to read it. Uh, then you need to find an agent, then you need to find a publisher, and then you need to be able to sell it, right? So I'm not trying to dissuade anyone, but it's completely worthwhile the amount of personal satisfaction that you get, and have seeing this coming from from my mind to actually coming to this is I mean, the person's act, it's very gratifying, but I think what you need to have is perseverance and patience. I think that's very, very important. Um, and also be open to ideas. Yeah, those are the three major things that I would say. Uh, the patience is going to be key. I mean, just don't give up. I mean, it can take like uh, 5 years to write. For example, just a small point. So, my favorite movie of all time is called The Man from Earth. It's a very small movie. Movie nobody knows about it. It's in pure science fiction. It's a brilliant concept. But the creator of the movie took 37 years to come up with the concept. He kind of actually finished the script on his deathbed. So, and that movie is actually one of my favorites, above Dark Knight, above Interstellar, above any movie that you can name. Uh, so it takes time. It's different for different people. Some people write it in 6 months, some people write it in 10 years. But just focus, just and keep patience, and try focusing on the quality of the product than anything else. Other things will figure out themselves. But yeah, I think that's what I would say.
So patience is the key according to you, right? So we'll have to be
Yeah, yeah,
patient.
yeah.
And, and so like that's the problem with the youngsters. We don't have patience. Like we cannot wait for something that long. So how to overcome that? I mean, how to manage time while doing this?
I mean, yes, just um, see. I mean, even for me, when I started using mobile and laptop, I realized that the time I spent with books has gone down. I don't have the patience. So normally, what I would read earlier is now available on a YouTube video. What I would take, let's say, 10 hours to read, let's say, a few articles can be uh, seen in a YouTube video in 5 minutes, right? So uh, you tend to start appreciating the value of books a bit less. But I think it's just about how determined you are, right? Uh, for example, this I could have given this up. It's not.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like J.K. Rowling, for example, right? When she wrote Harry Potter, she was broke. I was not broke. So, I mean, the
Yeah.
motivation for me was not money. The motivation for me was, that, I think I have a good idea. I think I have a great idea that people can come, read and enjoy, especially people who are interested in science fiction. So it's very important to keep that in mind. I think that's the only thing that will drive you forward. There'll be days when you are ready to give up, but just don't give into that, right? So it's a matter of that. It's a matter of how determined you are. How much do you want this? Do you want to actually see your name as a published author, or do you actually want to, be someone wondering who, what if I wrote a book? So yeah, so I think that's how you look at it.
So thank you so much, sir, for sharing your experience. I mean, this will inspire all of us watching this. And sir, also we have a tradition at Eternal Quest that whenever we end an interview, you'll have to put your book in your hand. I'll take a screenshot.
Okay.
Yeah. So, like it's not. Yeah, it's visible now. Yeah. Yes, sir. Yeah. Thank you so much, sir. We are done with this. You can put your book down.
Thank you.
So
Yeah.
thank you, sir, for sparing your time and coming up live with us on Eternal Quest. And we look more towards other interviews also with you. So towards the end, could you say anything that how did you feel being live on the Facebook of Eternal Quest?
Yeah, I think it's been a great experience. Yeah, the questions were great. I've done a couple of interviews before, but I think this interview is very interesting because I think uh, the questions are very, very interesting, and we had a lot of time to delve into certain areas. Uh, I can talk about science fiction for 10 hours. I don't mind. So, but I think yeah, this was very interesting. I think it was great that um, we were able to talk about a lot of issues about how it was inspired and how it comes about and what's in that process. So I think it was a lovely interview. Happy to be here.
Thank you so much, sir. And we also knew that we have more other books coming from you. It can be a trilogy, or it can be a franchisee also. So thank you for telling us about that, and thank you, sir, for sparing your time and giving an interview for us. So thank you so much,
Yeah,
sir. And like I'll end the meeting now. Thank you. See you, sir. Take care.
absolutely. Thank you.